Bitcoin is pushing higher here, up around about 2.3% on the day. I'm going to ask the question, should you be trusting this rally? Is Bitcoin now bullish again? Or should you be cautious here and thinking about maybe taking bits off the table and preparing for more downside price action? Let's jump into it. And first, we will look at Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin on the 4 hour. And you can see we've actually pushed into some resistance here, which is the 618 to 0.65 Fibonacci retracement, also referred to as the golden pocket. So Bitcoin finding a little bit of short-term resistance here. If we can push through that, we have this longer term ascending trend line here. So this is connecting our lows from last year, the summer, and you can see how it has come into play on this most recent drop. And we've also got a couple of daily moving averages here. So you've got both the 50 and the 100-day moving average, which are starting to cluster just above price. If we go on to this chart, I think you'll see there's also a down sloping trend line which connects all of our highs. So Bitcoin for me is coming into a danger zone around this $90,000 level. And I'm personally thinking the price does likely get rejected at this level. So I would be very, very careful looking for any longs into this resistance here. Obviously, we're coming into big overhead resistance being the underside of our price action from the end of November all the way up to falling out of it at the end of February. So we had literally December, January, and February, pretty much 3 months of price action. This was our sort of double top, our distribution top, and we are coming in for a retest. And look, if we can clear above this level and we can start to trade back towards the mid 90,000s, at that point, I will be open to saying that this rally could be the real deal. And certainly if we start to hold 90,000, start to consolidate in here above 90,000, that would look really, really constructive for the bulls. And it would be a case that if we were to remain above that level, then I could say that actually, moves to 90,000 are worth buying. And actually, this has just been all a shakeout. But right now, it's very, very much premature to make any statements like that. We really need to wait for price action to confirm itself. As we can see, just going on to the weekly, another thing I said I was looking at to get more bullish was this weekly RSI. So we're actually testing this downsloping trend line again here. And it's going to be very, very interesting to see if price can actually break out from this, or does it just come back down and reject again? We've actually come down to what has been a previous area of support on this RSI, so we can actually draw a support line there as well. So it really is open to debate here as to, which way is this RSI going to go? I mean, if we look at previous cycles, so going back to the last cycle, 2021, it was when we broke down from this horizontal level that we actually really started to see warning signs. I mean, we went below it, we still managed to get a final pump, but obviously on that pump, we put in this massive bearish divergence. And when we came back down again, that was it. And we went into a long bear market. So are we going to see something similar here? Time will tell, of course, but I think breaking below this horizontal RSI support would be a real warning sign for me personally, and would obviously increase my confidence in calling this a bear market. I think for now, the jury is still out. We still can't be completely sure 100% definitively that we are actually in a bear market for Bitcoin. We need further information. And of course, Bitcoin bulls do have a chance here, an opportunity to actually prove their strength by getting decisively back above 90,000. and really up to this 95 level. If we actually get up to 95,000, then that will be a show of strength, and we will be then looking at this as becoming potentially a range. I mean, even if we don't break 95,000, it is possible that actually we end up putting in a bit more of a sideways consolidation here and eventually sort of popping above. And we can, like I said, we can say this was just a healthy correction to shake out late buyers above 100K back in December, and now we are targeting new highs again. So that is the best case scenario. And just give me one moment. Apologies for that. I had to grab some water. I'm just recovering from a bit of a head cold. So I had to have a good cough. Thought it'd be better to do that off camera. But as I was saying, I think this is one potential scenario that we consolidate now in a range for another couple of months. And obviously this would line up with QT potentially ending. Obviously, QT has been scaled back by the Federal Reserve, and that is a positive rate of change, of course. So this for me would be potentially the most bullish outcome, and from here we could actually potentially go on and make new highs later on this year. I'm very much open to that, but again, we really have to see these lows hold, and we have to see bulls really getting back, being able to get back up to 95 and actually showing more strength coming into the market. And I'm not saying this is my most probable scenario. I mean, if we just go back and we look at the paths that I had previously drawn, we can see I am still expecting something like this potentially to play out. I mean, we might come a little bit higher here, and like I say, we go into this range. So this is similar, really similar to the path that I just showed, and potentially we do something like that. We form this range, and we're then able to push up maybe in the summertime and look for some sort of blow off into the end of the year. And then, of course, I think this is currently my most likely path. Sorry to say, but I'm expecting likely this rally to fail. And in the event that we make a new low, i.e., we take out these lows, I really, really think that will be confirmation that we're going into a bear market. Of course, we might consolidate here, and I mean, like I've said, if we make a new low, so if we do something like this, I don't really want to see us going below these highs, and I'd want to see us just consolidating here, which would get everybody really, really bearish. And I think we could then start to go the other way if we don't break down again. But ideally, I probably don't want to see this low get taken out. I'd rather us sort of consolidate in a tighter range, or a higher range, should I say. I think a break of this low really starts to show weakness then coming into the market, and that would make me very, very nervous. But potentially we do something like this. We have our spring here, and this ends up being some sort of reaccumulation before going higher, or should I say accumulation. This would have been reaccumulation, but we don't know. But until it's actually happened. But yeah, it's like I say, I can't really get away from the fact that things are looking worrying as they are right here. I mean, if we look at the volume data, just to give you an idea of what is concerning me, it's really just the overall interest in crypto. I do not think that new money is interested in jumping into the space right now. I think a lot of people are looking at an asset that has gone from 15, 20,000 a couple of years back, all the way to above 100,000. And people are going to want to buy at lower prices. It makes complete sense. I mean, this volume is just completely deteriorating. Obviously, this is a seven day moving average and on volume, and it is just completely tailing off all the way back to levels that we now saw last summer, where we went through this long period of chop. And this really does indicate to me that we are likely seeing a long period of chop coming. I mean, if we just kind of go back to what we've seen in, previous bear markets, I guess 2022 was a previous bear market. We're basically down at those levels. Um, Obviously, in 2021, where we saw the dip, we kind of had that dip down, and then we had a quick recovery back above the 50 billion line, and we held between 50 and 100 billion. We've now lost that 50 billion. So, if we don't not able to reclaim it and we just stay below, then I think price is going to drift lower and lower and lower, I'm afraid. And one of the things that is also of concern right now is the fact that, like I say, there's just no new demand. The ETFs, I think, have started buying a little bit again, but certainly nothing compared to what we had seen. And now we have this MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor announcing another Bitcoin purchase today. Well, I'm afraid it's just not a lot. I mean, Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy increased their Bitcoin holdings from 226,000 all the way up to 499,000 Bitcoin. That's in the space of a handful of months. And since then, the volume is just completely dropping off. I think he purchased something like 500 million or 600 million US dollars worth of Bitcoin. Obviously, he was making multi-billion dollar purchases a few months back, and that demand is starting to dry up. So there are some warning signs for sure at the moment with what's going on with the market. But yeah, like I say, we are on a bounce now. I would just be very careful coming into this 90,000 area. I do think that is a area that we're likely to see some resistance, and it remains to be seen where price will go from there. Obviously, we've got the Moon Boys on X that are putting up every single piece of bullish hopium that they can get their hands on to try to convince you not to sell, to keep holding. Everything's going to be okay. Alt season is about to come and everything's going to fly so much higher. Obviously, our favorites here, look at Mr. Crypto, bullish cross, pumping coming. I mean, just calling for absolute ridiculous gains, ridiculous targets. BlackRock buying Bitcoin. RSI has so much further to go. I mean, like we've just analyzed the RSI. It is not a bullish indicator as it currently is. The RSI is showing weakness right now, and you've got this guy coming out and saying that actually it's strong when it's clearly not. These people are clearly not being honest with you. The timing again, it's all fractals. It's all looking at previous cycles and saying, well, this is what the prior cycle did. This cycle has to repeat. It has to replicate exactly what the previous cycle did. And we know that is absolutely not the case. Here we go. Michael Saylor buys, or strategy buys, 584 million worth of Bitcoin. It's just not enough, unfortunately. And obviously that as a rate of change is something that is slowing down. We got the other Moon Boys on X as well, putting up more opium too. So this is obviously one we looked at on the last video. Max Brown, who was calling for alt season to start absolutely imminently. It was about to kick off, and here we go. I just bought 500k worth of Bitcoin. Okay, So stuff like this, rumor, Saudi Arabia is buying billions worth of Bitcoin and ETH. I mean, it's really frustrating because there's no proof of this whatsoever. You're just being lied to. These people are just scammers and liars, unfortunately. This man, I mean, Larry Finker's just bought 100 millions worth of Bitcoin. He hasn't. Again, that's a lie. BlackRock have, allegedly. I don't know if that's them or if that's actually the ETF. But yeah, it's you've just got to be really, really careful who you listen to. Okay, a whale just bought. Okay, fine. Here we go. Scaling back tariffs. I mean, the scaling back of tariffs will be positive for the stock market. Potentially, it does absolutely nothing whatsoever for Bitcoin or altcoins, aside from having the correlation. So, as much as people want to make you convinced that if the tariffs, if is a change in the tariffs policy, it will be bullish for your crypto. It's not quite true. There will be some correlation, but yeah, I mean, it will impact confidence in the stock market, and if the stock market rallies, then potentially crypto will get a bit of that as well. But again, it's all speculation. It's all been designed to keep you holding your cryptocurrency investments because they don't want you to sell. So, like I say, I'm skeptical on this pump. I think Bitcoin is still in danger here, and I see no reason to jump in right now to any big positions. If we look at the S&P, we can see the S&P is rallying today. So it's actually coming into the first real area of resistance, in my opinion, coming into its daily 100-day moving average. And also, we've got this box of resistance that I've drawn just coming above the 382 as well. So if the S&P can actually push through this moving average, potentially it could try and get itself up towards its 50-day. This is the 100-day. We've got the 50-day. So potentially it could come in to these moving averages and up towards this 0.65. It's also approaching the lows from January. So again, this is potentially going to be a take profit area for anybody that was buying this low down here at the 300-day, and it is potentially an area that traders are going to de-risk. So until we actually see a daily candle breaking and closing above this moving average, I have to assume that for now, this is going to be resistance. We've got the dollar as well that starting, excuse me, also starting to tick up. Um, so the dollar usually has an inverse correlation with risk assets. So again, this popping up here wouldn't necessarily be a bullish thing, but if it did get a strong rejection from these daily moving averages, this is both the 300 and 200-day moving average around about this 105. Potentially that could give another leg to the current rally. So I'll be watching closely how this responds here. The VIX, this is actually a bullish sign for stocks. So the VIX, the volatility index, is really coming down hard. So this usually has an inverse correlation with stocks. So if we can actually see the VIX come down back into the range here that is really between, let's say, 17 and around about 14. So a range of 14 to 17. We're at 17.97 now. So if this can come down a little bit lower, then that will be a good sign for stocks. It means that stocks should continue their bounce. Obviously, if we see the VIX bounce, that's going to put the stock market under pressure again. And obviously, all of that will feed into crypto. So look, I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. I'll just before I go, I'll just take a very, very quick look at Ethereum and Solana. So Ethereum, we expected a bounce here. I'm expecting a bounce maybe as high as 2,200 before eventual rollover down to around about sort of 15, 1600 on Ethereum. So no change there, playing out exactly as expected on the path. And Solana similar. I think we can probably bring this across a little bit. And Solana, I'll be looking for a rejection around sort of somewhere in the 140s all the way up to around about 161. I think this area is a dangerous place for Solana, and then potentially coming down towards $100 over the next month or two. Potentially this happens a little bit sooner in April. We will see. But yes, I am still expecting lower prices on ETH and Solana. They are just in a downtrend. This is a very, very clear daily downtrend for Solana. Very, very clear daily downtrend on Ethereum as well. So not assets that I personally want to be holding here. And just to recap, Bitcoin coming into the danger zone, pretty much between 89 and 90,000 with some daily moving average resistance. And yeah, I think the main thing to do here is to protect capital because things are still in downtrends. So to answer the question, do I trust the pump? No, unfortunately, I don't trust the pump at this stage. Like I say, we will have to regain some key areas, i.e., trading above 90,000, closing above 90,000, breaking out this weekly RSI downtrend as well, is something that when it wants to load up is something that I want to see from Bitcoin. And look, if we get back above 90,000, this breaks out, then I will start to say that the market is showing some signs at least that it is forming a bit of strength, and actually we can then start to entertain potential long setups once again. Obviously, it's important to see the VIX continue to come down. It's important to see the dollar get rejected. It's important to see the stock market push up higher and start to recover. Hopefully, I mean, I think the stock market, we really want to see a higher low before getting too excited in stocks. But look, I mean, that's the setup. I think for now, remain cautious. No need to FOMO in, no need to jump into any positions. Let's see how the next few days play out. Of course, I'll be back here every week with my analysis, letting you know exactly what happens as I see it, how I'm positioning, and how I see the market playing out over the next few days. I appreciate things are very uncertain right now. I appreciate that there's a few different possible scenarios on the table, that we could be going into more of a range situation. We could be falling down a little bit lower. I'm not convinced that this is the absolute low. There's been no volume capitulation. We've seen no strong price capitulation and big reversal. We've seen nothing. I mean, if we look at the low that we made back in August of last year, then that was here. Then you can see we did actually get a volume spike. Let's see if I can. Is this the volume? Yeah. We got this really nice volume spike here, and that showed me, I think if we go to total, yeah, that confirmed to me that that was likely to have been capitulation price wise. And we've just not seen that. We've not even seen close to that yet on this current move. So I am looking for something more substantial just on the weekly. Yeah, you can't really see it. You need to really be on the daily. But yeah, that's really what I'm looking for. Some sort of big push down with a sort of capitulation candle and big volume coming in to tell me that, the market has fully flushed all the sellers out. Either that, or we're going to have to consolidate further through time, and we probably go range bound for a bit before attacking sort of higher prices later on in the year. So I hope that was useful. I'm going to finish it there. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day, and talk to you all on the next one.